Hello everyone and welcome back to Witchinary. If you have yet to subscribe to this channel, then please do so because we are getting crafty, and today I wanted to share with you guys my creations using the Hero Arts May 2019 card kit. If you guys stick around till the end of this video, I have a very cool trick that you guys can totally use for making really dope envelopes for any season. And if I ever go too fast in this video, know I'm linking to my website below where there will be a coordinating blog post where I tell you guys step by step what I do with hyperlinks within the text for any of the supplies that I'm using that you guys are more than welcome to check out. For my first card, I wanted to do a little bit more of the practice with no line watercoloring, so I take a piece of Strathmore watercolor paper and I make an A2 size card panel from it. Next, I'm going to pull out my actual stamp set and I'm going to ink down all of my images using some Hero Arts soft granite ink. I wanted to be very precise when it came to my design for these cards because I had gone on Instagram and I'd asked a lot of you guys what were your favorite color combinations, and I highlighted it on my entire profile so you guys can totally take a look at it. But the thing I provided to this list were pastels with holographic details. I thought that would be a really cool design for Halloween, but I was way too stoked to wait till Halloween to premiere that, so I wanted to go ahead and try it out with this stamp set, and I'm so thankful that I did. I love these cards. So from my stash, I pulled out my Prima Marketing Pastel Dreams watercolor set. I just got this watercolor set and I'm very pleased with it. It kind of gave me a palette for what to use on this video. I love the images. I love the colors, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using it a lot more as the year progresses, just because I do think pastels are very underrated. I also brought out some disco tape. I just found this disco tape at my local paper source. Apparently they also sell it at Barnes & Noble, and they sell it on Amazon, and I'm going to link to it below because apparently Paper Source charged me like $13 for this, and you can get on Amazon for $10, so you guys are lucky. And I really wanted to like bring that holographic look to these cards. I thought it would really add this really cool, like, I don't want to say modern, but like a futuristic sort of feel to my cards that I think was kind of just missing in just card making overall, this sort of like look. Off camera, I did round off the corners of my card panel using my Fiskars corner trimmer, and I also used my Fine Tech gold ink to sprinkle a little bit of gold onto my card panel. That's totally not necessary because you don't really see it. And then I took some of the string that came in this kit that was kind of just wrapped around the actual kit, and I made a bow from that. From my stash, I pulled out some Fog Simon Says stamp cardstock, and I just adhere that down to my panel made from Nina Solar White cardstock. I raise up my card panel using foam squares, and I do bring out my Tombow pastel markers, and I just make a few more embellishments with pastel colors just around to add a little bit more decorative looks around all of my stamped images. And I also just bring out my handy dandy ultra matte black cardstock with my Paper Source white embossing powder to stamp down my sentiment and raised it up on foam squares. Honestly, any black cardstock and white embossing powder combination would do. I go ahead and I decorate the inside of my card with a little stamp and a sentiment and just a little bit more of that disco tape that I'm obsessed with and you guys will be seeing way more of. And that finished off this card. For my second card, I wanted to use some Lawn Fawn paper bag cardstock that I had. This cardstock is it has kind of like a deeper sort of paper bag coloring. So I know, and it's smooth. So I know if I use my Prismacolor pencils on it, it's going to show up vibrantly and it's really going to make all of my just colors pop. So I decided to bring it out and use it for my card panel. I decided to make this design of this card to be a little bit more serpentine, and I used a bunch of the stamps that came in this set just to make that serpentine shape. I didn't really have a rhyme or reason for which ones to use, like which stamps to like use over others. I know that some people did like just color pencils or just markers or just the paint, but I just felt like this could all be this kawaii, confetti, really cutesy, futuristic sort of card, I guess, or card design. So I just went with it and played with it. I was also totally watching Sailor Moon unabashedly this whole weekend, and I'm pretty sure that contributed a lot to the design of this card. But here we are, and I really like how this came out. Obviously, as you guys can see, as I'm coloring everything in this hyperlapse, you can tell that the colors do pop in this cardstock, and they do add a little bit of that really cutesy feel. In this card, not in this card, but in this kit, there was a little bit of lavender washi tape that was given to us, so I did use that to, you know, make a little focal point at the left-hand side of my card panel. And then I did the same thing with the paper trimmer and my sentiment on the side. Now, I know a lot of people get on me because I really love like black strips to have sentiment on. Here, it was an actual aesthetic decision, not something that I like wanted to necessarily like keep doing. I do think the starkness of the black against the softness of the pastels looked really, really stark and looks really good, so I decided to use it. On the inside of my card, I'm just gonna go ahead and decorate it. Because I only made 4 cards with this card kit, I wanted to make sure to decorate the insides of these cards with more of that disco tape, because I'm just living for it, honestly. And I also just wanted to, you know, I'm trying to decorate the insides of my cards a little bit more. I really am. I forget sometimes, but I'm going for it. So I add a little bit of that disco tape to the right hand side of my card, and that finished that off. For my third card, I wanted to give a really artsy fartsy sort of look to my card panel. So I took some scrap basic cardstock and I cut it to an A2 size panel size, or slightly smaller, and then I took out some of my distress inks in cracked pistachio, shaded lilac, worn lipstick, squeezed lemonade, and tumbled glass. I really wish I would have used something like picked raspberry instead of worn lipstick. I think that kind of brought down more of my pastel sort of look, but I think it turned out okay, so I still wanted to show it off here. I took some clean water and I just sprinkled that onto my card panel, but because this wasn't watercolor ink or watercolor paper, I wanted to make sure that I had a little tissue on the side to just pat that dry, because I don't want any warping. I don't have any Scotch foam tape, so I can't really raise this panel up that, you know, if it's warped or something. So I just go ahead and off camera, I did stamp down some of my images using some Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. And I did color all of my images using my Prima Marketing watercolor set. This kind of tied these little images onto the rest of my cards, so I was really content with that. I took 2 of the brushes and I adhered them together and then added a little bow around them to add a little bit more interest, and then I raised all of my little images up with some foam squares, and that made me really happy to have a little bit of dimension. You guys know I'm a dimension queen, so this was amazing for me. Then I also really liked how the sequin stamps and the buttons and the hearts that came in this kit kind of looked like little embellishment stamps around my things. So I brought out my Hero Art soft granite ink and I just started stamping down a few of those images around my stamp set. From my stash, I also brought out some little things coconut ice sequins because they are iridescent, and I just adhered them around my little paint palette and my scissors, and that added this cute little iridescent pastel sort of look to my card. And again, I'm going to pull out that disco tape and I'm just going to make a little bit of a focal point on the right hand side of my card, somewhere where I can put that dark black cardstock with my sentiment on top of, and it will shine through beautifully. Once that was adhered, I did take my Hi There on a strip and I just raised it up on foam squares, and I rounded my corners, and I ultimately decided to go with a piece of doll pink cardstock for my card panel. I raised it up on foam squares and that finished off this card, and it's super cute. For my last card, I wanted to go back to that Lawn Fawn cardstock because I just love the way that it looked. I think this was more so the look I was going with, but I'm really happy I tried out the watercolor stuff. So I wanted to make a background stamp. I normally really love Hero Arts' background stamps that come as an add-on to every one of their kits. This time around, I thought that the design for it looked too different than what was given to us in the stamp set. So I figured I could just, you know, make my own background stamp with the stamps provided. So that's exactly what I did. I just laid out whatever I wanted to on my card panel, and I just stamped miscellaneously throughout. Yeah, it didn't really matter. And then I just took my Prismacolor pencils and I just go ahead and I color in all of my images as I want them to. The full hyperlapse to this is actually up on my site. I thought that it would be way too time consuming to have the full thing on here. I know that you guys have better things to do with your day than watch card making videos all day, so for the sake of time, I got you. Check it out later. Here I am taking my paper or my corner trimmer, and I'm just gonna make little circular corners to all of this. I think that adds on to the cuteness of this card. I took the same combination of black cardstock and white embossing ink, or white embossing powder, and I just heat emboss the sentiment, make stuff be happy. And then I just put some disco tape onto my actual card panel, and just put it right at the center. And I think this really turned out super cute. Like, I cannot even deal with how cute this card came out. It's probably the favorite one that I made. And I also, you know, did the inside of the card because that's what we're doing nowadays. And that finished off those cards. Well guys, it's the end. So along with these cards, I also made these really pretty envelopes. Now, the way that I make these envelopes is that I take wrapping paper, and wrapping paper like this is sold literally on Amazon. It's sold at Paper Source. It's sold at Dick Blick Art Supplies. You can even find some really cool paper around the holidays at Joann's, at Hobby Lobby, at Michael's. So if you ever want to make your envelopes look like they're actually presents themselves, take some wrapping paper, deconstruct one of your favorite envelopes, and then just trace it onto the inside of the wrapping paper. Once you're done tracing the outline of everything, it's super easy to like just put it together and make an envelope out of it. You do have to be careful. If the paper is textured like this, you might have to pay more for your shipping of the envelope, so you might have to use 2 stamps instead of 1. And I would never ever recommend that you use glitter wrapping paper because the post office might have to knock on your door. I'm sorry. Once you're done tracing the envelope, you know, you're gonna just fold the flaps in like you would any other envelope, and you're just gonna adhere it. This, despite being textured, does adhere very well with just my simple tape runner. It's nothing major. I will link to this paper below because I did find a pack of 3 of this for about $25, and considering that I paid around $5 for 1 sheet of it, not a roll, that is a steal, and you'll get a lot more colors. But I'm also going to link to the Paper Source link for just 1 sheet of this so you guys can totally see it. And once you're done checking it out, that's totally chill too. You know, you decide if you want to use this paper or not, but that's the trick to it. You can obviously stick all of your cards onto these envelopes. I made one little envelope for every single one of these cards to tie the extraness of this look together. So now each of these cards will be shipped in one of these, and it's gonna be super cute. I do put a label on the front just so I can write the recipient's address, because I don't think I can actually write on this paper. And that's that. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to see you guys again for many more, and I hope you guys like this little trick. Take care, guys.